What's up, everybody? I'm Flash. This is One Man's Opinion, the show where we give our opinions on just about everything. And by we, I mean you and me. And today we're talking about The Boys, Amazon Prime's hit TV show, The Boys, the superhero, action-packed, super over-the-top, just gore-fest and explicit show that is The Boys. You either love it or you hate it. I guess most of you probably love it if you're watching this, or maybe you just tune in to see me talk. That's doubtful. No, but The Boys, listen, if you haven't seen The Boys and you're watching this and you're like, you know what, I'm going to listen to this review and maybe based on what he says, I might try The Boys out. There's something you should know real quick. The Boys is the most explicit show I've ever seen in my life. And by explicit, I mean it has blood and gore like Mortal Kombat, but also like extreme over-the-top sexual content, specifically with this last season. This season 3 has been absolutely nuts, and I don't think any other show out there could pull it off. So let's start with that big positive. The Boys should not work because of the content within it, because of how graphic it is, because of how over-the-top it is. It would come off in anything else as a gimmick, as shock value. And certainly it is. Certainly it is shock value, and they want to have that to draw eyes. You know, what will the Boys do this season? Where will they go this season? How carried away? How far can they go? How far can they push the envelope? You know, that is part of it. But any other show, I would be like, that's all the show has to offer, because they don't spend any time with character development or story. They're just there to keep their audience around by doing the most outlandish things that they can possibly imagine. But The Boys manages to go there while also paying incredible detail to character development. And character development is my greatest praise that I can heap upon The Boys. Their ability to develop characters is out of this world. For example, I've never been just a huge fan of Starlight, but I thought Starlight was a high point of this season. If nothing else, I think Starlight is a great example of what a hero should be. She is simply, whether you agree with her on all of her decisions or not, she is simply morally unbendable. She is absolutely, and I hope they don't change that. I don't want to see the season where Starlight is emotionally defeated and becomes like the Butcher, you know, even if it's for a short amount of time. I don't want to see the season where Starlight finally is drugged down on the same level as the rest of them. I don't want that. I want Starlight, I don't care if she dies on this hill. I want her to remain on the moral high ground hill, because the show needs someone like that. She's not a perfect person by any means, but she has her moral standards, and she does not compromise those standards. And it's really, really good to see. I think she struggled with it at times in the past, but she was new to the Seven, and it's almost like being thrust into a fraternity where you're like, okay, well, everybody went through certain things, so I'm just going to try to do what I have to do to get in and be a part of this thing, you know. And as she learned more about it, she found her backbone, and I thought that was great. I thought that was a high point of this season. I think just about every other superhero medium, anybody out there, whether it's DC or Marvel or, you know, something else, whatever in between graphic novel adaptation movie that is coming out, anywhere you find superheroes, I think that they should all look to The Boys for how to develop a female superhero. And I'm 100% serious. Maeve is not like Starlight in that she's not like a pillar of morals. She has her moments where she's not afraid to get her hands dirty and do something that might seem morally wrong if she feels like it will give ultimately the right outcome. It will be ultimately good, even if it means doing a wrong thing now. The outcome will be ultimately good. She's not afraid to kind of go there, but she's a great hero. She's still an astounding hero who fights for what she believes in, who goes against the bad guy, who kind of like Starlight has found her backbone. Both of these women have and I'm going to praise this quite a bit, but both of these women have gone through horrible things as a part of this group in the Seven and have found their backbone along the way and have a reason to be as strong as they are now. And I don't mean physically strong. I mean emotionally willful, just powerful in that way, that they are now unbendable because they've been there. They've bent. They've had those moments where, they've done things or said things that they wish they hadn't, and now they are unbendable in who they are. And I think that's fantastic character writing for anybody at all. But I think Marvel in particular, because they're the big one, so I'll pick on them. Marvel is horrible at writing female superheroes. They just want to throw someone on the screen and just have them be the strongest person in the room. You saw it with Captain Marvel. Oh, she's got to be the strongest Avenger. Just throw her in there. She'll be the strongest from the jump. They want the female character to be so strong, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the journey is so much more important than just having them show up and being this like wisecracking, kind of over the top, better than you character. Starlight and Maeve are neither one of those things. They're not the strongest person in the room, but they have the strongest wills, at least comparatively, of anybody in the room. They can at least match anybody for as far as the mind goes. And that's because of the journey that they've taken. And I think it's excellent writing for them. I think Huey's writing has been really, really good. A real struggle that men go through, shown on TV, where his significant other has more power than he does. And that's a real pride thing that men have to deal with. If your wife makes more money than you do, then sometimes a man can feel like he's not contributing enough to his family, that he's not providing as he should. And I know that's not exactly what was going on with Huey, but it's a superhero show, so she literally had the power, right? She was way stronger, and Huey never felt like he was always the damsel in distress. He was always having to be rescued, and he didn't bring anything to the relationship. Starlight didn't really need him. He needed her because he was always being rescued. And I could understand where he was coming from, how defeating that would feel to know that if the person you love the most, if they were ever in any real danger, you couldn't do anything to help them at all. And that's the way he felt. And I thought they had a great way of showing how he can be of assistance to Starlight without the superpowers that were killing him. And so I thought that was brilliant. Butcher's story has continued to develop, and I love where that's going. Honestly, the characters in this show are astounding, and I could go on and on and on. I never know where A-Train's going to end up. I keep thinking he's gonna flip to the good side, and then he doesn't. And it even, it seems to be headed that way again, where he's looking around and he's like, okay, Homelander's insane, and he's now killing people that are very, very close to him. I should get out of here. Like, you can see it on his face all the time, and you've been able to see it since toward the back half, I guess, of season 1. But he never will pull the trigger, and at last second, he will always run back to Homelander, no pun intended. Which I think is really good character writing too. Aside from just character writing, the plot writing is really, really good. The Boys has a way of keeping you on your toes. You're never sure what's going to come. And it's because they are not afraid to play with things in this world, to take things to those outlandish standards, and because they will go so outlandish, you literally can't guess what will happen next. But even as a story, it's hard to guess what would happen next. And a perfect example, I thought, was the way that they set up Homelander and Soldier Boy in this season. I thought Soldier Boy, for sure, as the season came to an end, was going to come around to Homelander's side. I thought for sure, now that he knew that Homelander was his son, that he was going to team up. And I thought through that, we would have Black Noir flip to the good side. And I thought next season, or toward the end of this season, not next season, I thought at the end of this season, the big fight you would have would be like the original Boys, with the help of Maeve and Black Noir, all of them against Soldier Boy and Homelander, which I thought would have been a really good fight. The Boys have the numbers, Homelander and Soldier Boy have the power. But they didn't go that way. And as soon as Black Noir died at the beginning of the last episode, I was dumbfounded. I could not believe that they killed Black Noir so unceremoniously. Like, he just died. Like, he didn't get to fight. He didn't get to go out on his feet. I thought that was a bit of a missed opportunity. I thought Black Noir deserved better than that death. He should have at least got a swing in. He should have died fighting, I thought, because that's who he was. He was a fighter. But he went out quick, and that's... I can only knock the writing in as much as I thought his character deserved more. But as far as like catching you off guard and things just happening and showing the seriousness of Homelander and accurately depicting where he was at that moment in his head, you couldn't have written it better. Because that instant death for Black Noir, the person who was essentially closest to him, showed how serious and how unhinged he was in that moment. And so I thought that was really, really strong. I can't brag enough on Jensen Ackles' performance. I thought he stole the show every time he was on screen. And I've been watching The Boys for 3 seasons, and I've been a fan of The Boys for 3 seasons. I thought season 2 was probably the weakest. And I'll go into that a little bit more toward the end when I talk about my major negative for The Boys. But I thought Jensen Ackles, every scene he was in, he stole the show. He performed so well as Soldier Boy and made him so likable. And it's crazy because Soldier Boy's not a good guy. Like, obviously he has a bad past. Obviously he has beliefs that are just, askew to what they should be. And clearly he's just a bit off. But you can't help but like him. And maybe it's because I was a Supernatural fan for years. Maybe it's because I like Jensen Ackles. Maybe it's because... It's weird to say this, but The Boys does such a good job writing its characters that sometimes you see yourself in the villain a little bit, or sometimes you see yourself in the hero a little bit. But because every character, even the heroes, you look at Butcher, you look at Mother's Milk, or you look at Frenchie, you look at any of them, they all have flaws. They're the heroes, but they have flaws. And just like that, the villains have good qualities to them at times. And so, I can't help but see myself in some of the villains sometimes. And I think, again, that's a credit to the writing and how relatable Soldier Boy could be. And just to prove my point, you saw some of that with Homelander. Some of that humanity, some of that side of him that isn't all evil. He legitimately loves his son. He legitimately just wants a family. And when he reached out to Soldier Boy, I 100% believe that he wanted Soldier Boy to be a part of that family. At his core, all Homelander wants is acceptance and love. He just doesn't know how to go about getting it. He's completely deranged and mentally ill and is a horrible, horrible person. But he is capable of love and caring about something other than himself, which I thought was shown marvelously this season. And when he takes his son at the end of the last episode, you're like, holy crap, that's a redeemable quality for Homelander. And then I love again the writing. I can't praise it enough. As if to tie a bow on the whole thing, they make sure to remind you, yes, there is that side of Homelander that is good, but he's also completely insane and still the villain of the story. And they do that by showing his protection of the son. The same thing that you might have admired for a second, his love for his son, they take that and show the bad side of it. Dude hits his son with, what was it, like a milkshake or something like that? Homelander zaps him. Dead dude right there in the streets. And there it is. You see the one good quality of Homelander, and then you see the ugly side of even his best quality. And it's brilliant. Beyond all that, and I could praise it. Look, I could talk about all the crazy things that were seen in this episode. We could talk about episode 6, quite a bit. We could talk about any of it. But if you saw the show, you saw the show. It's been talked to death in other shows. And so I'm just going to leave that stuff alone. I'm going to talk about the one thing that I don't like about The Boys. And then I'm going to give my rating for this season. And we'll move on. The one thing I wish they would get rid of in The Boys is the political commentary. I understand that The Boys needs to be a reflection somewhat of the world that we live in. And that is in some ways the point of the show. I understand that it has to be there some. Vought in itself is constantly a reflection of what happens when a company gets involved in politics. Something that we have a horrible problem with in this country. It's awful. And I appreciate that they hold up a mirror to the United States for a lot of its issues and for a lot of its hatred and a lot of its anger, but they take it way too far. And they show it way too much. And some of it's so heavy-handed, and it's so preachy, and it's so obvious which side that they lean to on the political aisle, and it's way too much. Season 2 was just riddled with it, and it was awful. It was awful because it's enough, you know? It's enough. I don't want to see it. I'm sick of seeing it in Marvel movies. I'm sick of seeing political agenda put into any... I'm sick of seeing it everywhere. It's everywhere. You can't watch Sports Center without getting political commentary with sports anymore. And I'm so over it. It's such low-hanging fruit. It's not clever. It's not smart writing. Everything that I praised the show for earlier, it is the opposite. Every late-night TV host can do political commentary and comedy. Every SNL skit can have political commentary and comedy written into it. It's not hard. It's the easiest thing to do. In particular, and I don't mind saying it, going after Trump is like the most low-hanging fruit. And if you watch any of the behind the scenes, and I do, where the actors talk about the episodes, one of them is going to mention the parallels between Trump and Homelander, which is crazy to me. I mean, regardless of whether you line up left, right, or center, but Trump has never murdered anyone. Dude's not even in office anymore. I don't understand why we have to talk about him to begin with. I don't understand why he still needs to be brought up at all. He's not even in office anymore, and it's been done to death for the last 6 years. There's nothing you could say about the guy that hadn't been said already. There's nothing. There's nothing left out there. The mine is empty. There are no gold nuggets hidden amongst them. Every TV show I watch is like watching old prospectors out in California back in the day panning the river for gold after people have been doing it for 15 years. All the gold's gone. It's gone. It's gone. The rivers have been completely robbed and dried up. There's nothing left there. It's just low-hanging sour fruit that alienates a portion of your audience. And it does. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on. That's what it does. And it's tired. It's tired. And that's what I hate about it the most. It's tired. It's lazy. And nobody, I don't know anybody. I've not heard anybody who has reviewed this show or who has talked about this show at length who praises the political commentary. I've never heard it. I have heard many, many people say the same thing. The show would be perfect if they would just cut that crap out. No one wants to be preached to when you go watch a superhero movie. And I'm venting a little bit here because it's not just The Boys. It's everywhere. It's everywhere you turn. People have to put in their political opinion, and I'm tired of it. And I know I'm not the only one. So that is my only real gripe about The Boys. It's my only real issue with the show. It's going to have some. I'm fine with some. And that's why I like this season. It seemed to back off of it a little bit. Much more relaxed than last season was. Next season, heading into the presidential election with Robert Singer, has an opportunity to go right back into that world. And if it does, it's going to be my least favorite part again. And so I know they're going to have some. I'm fine with some. But the more heavy-handed, the more obvious, the more blatant, that stuff, that's enough. Having said all of that, overwhelmingly, The Boys is a phenomenal show to watch. Overwhelmingly, Season 3 was the best season, I think. Season 1 was really good. I liked Season 1 a lot. Season 2 had good moments, but overwhelmingly was a bit much. And then Season 3, I thought, pulled back on the reins a little bit for the politics and did... I simply can't praise the character developments across the board for everyone. Kamiko this season? Are you kidding me? She was astounding. Loved her story. Loved the fact that she lost her powers, that she was happy, and then saw how important her powers were to her. And so, learned a lesson. Hey, this thing I hated was actually really, really good for me to have. And since I can get it back and it be my choice and not something that was forced onto me, I can get it back and I can become empowered by the thing that gave me power to begin with. And so that was incredible. I wish she would figure out how to talk. I know she can't, but I love the scenes that they added where she could speak a little in her mind, or she sang, I thought those were really great scenes. And I thought her and Franchi, man, that's such a good story. Those two on screen, their chemistry, so good. But anyway, I'm giving The Boys season 3 a 93 overall. All right, let me know what you guys thought about The Boys. Let me know what you thought about my thoughts. Was there something I didn't talk about that I should have? Guys, it's one of those things where I could go on and on and on, but you don't want to sit here for 45 minutes. I don't want to edit a 45-minute video, so I got to cut it off somewhere. So let me know what you wanted to talk about a little bit in the comments below, and I'll type back to you, give you my thoughts on those things, or just agree with you if you make a really good point. And if you thought that I missed something somewhere where I made a point about something and you thought I went a little too far, like with the political commentary thing, maybe you disagree with me on that, let me know about it in the comments below. We can hash it out a little bit. Maybe I'll come to see where you're coming from on that. Maybe there's something I'm missing there. So let me know in the comments below. Just remember, whatever it is, don't get mad about it. Remember, this is just one man's opinion. Thanks.